Hi everybody, I'm making this video because it's important to me and to my family, and you know, I think it's the only way I can really go forward in my life without any more baggage. Between the ages to 8 and 11, I lived in a little village called Garnet Settlement. My family was the only black family there. And between the ages of 8 and 11, I was regularly sexually assaulted by one of my neighbors specifically, which rolled into, other neighbors. I guess they talked. And this person was just a little bit older than me, but they were brilliant, or at least understood to be brilliant. I mean, when I was still in junior high, they were off to university sort of thing. They were really, 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 really smart. And they were so smart that, every weekend he would invite me to stay at his summer trailer in his backyard, down in his backyard besides his pool. And every time that I stayed there, he basically convinced me, forced me, sexually assaulted me. I'm not going to get into the facts and the disgusting facts. It affected my entire life. From that point on, my life was really difficult. Such that, in 2016, I think it was, and because this person is, a politician now and very well respected and very well known, I hadn't, I was able to move forward past the assaults, and I met a good woman, at least so I thought, and we married. And about 2016, I got triggered by an election sign. At that same week, it was an election sign of my assaulter. That same week, that individual showed up at a sports field where I was involved in sports, and I, spoke to him and was further triggered, and let my wife know that I wasn't doing well. After that, the signs, and then seeing actually the assaulter, I could no longer sustain, normalcy. My PTSD was over the top, such that, I remember my wife, when I was honest and told her what was going on with me in my life, she said, "Oh, I can't fix that." And that was, amongst other things, one of the major causes of the end of my family. In 2017, I think, or maybe 2018, the RCMP, that is the two number one child exploitation investigators for the RCMP, contacted me and met with me because they had heard about what happened to me, and they wanted me to tell them who it was and to help them with that. Well, at that time, I was just, a mess. I was trying to get my life together. My wife was gone. My child was gone. My life was over. But I had an opportunity to start over again professionally. And I wouldn't help them. I refused to help them because I knew if I did that in the town that I lived, if they did bring charges or what have you, and because it was so long ago, if we didn't win, my life would be over and I would never get my family together again, which didn't happen anyway. But I refused to help them. And when they knew who it was, they wanted to do something. They wanted to help me, but I refused to help them. several years later, I was involved. Apparently, I thought I was fixing myself. I thought I'll face my aggressor. I'll face my assaulter, and that will fix me. So several years after that, in a provincial election, I called upon the person who was assaulting me to help with the campaign that I was working on with another minister, future minister. And I thought if I went to him and called him and said, I need you to do this, and you know you need to do this, that he would understand why he was doing that. And that would be my way of facing my beast. I even went to his house where he was helping me do some signs for an election I was in. Again, facing my fear, facing my beast. And if you knew him, you wouldn't think he's a beast. Most things, he's got character, credibility, respect, all of which, hides the person that ruined my life as a very young child. And we're similarly aged. He's just a little bit older than me, but again, I wasn't smart. I was, a little boy, and he destroyed me. All of these years since then, I realized that, yeah, I did face my aggressor, but it didn't do anything. It just heightened my awareness of what happened to me. That I, had two more relationships that did not work well. That those things that happened to me put my life on a track that I believe I can only move forward for the next half of my life happily is by telling somebody, because I never told anybody, and it destroyed my life. And I saw this person go on to be, athletic instructors and, involved with children and having a family of his own and, bumping into him one day. How are you? Oh, well, I'm led by God now. And guess what? I've had a lot of sexual assault aggressors in my life, in my previous professional, as defendants or what have you. And they all said the same. Oh, I'm led by God now. So you can't hold it against me. God has forgiven me. Well, I didn't forgive you. My family, which is a mess, didn't forgive you. And I think I can't do it. I've tried and I've tried and I've tried and I've even prayed on this, and I'm not a prayer, but I prayed on this. And I think that this is the right thing to do. It ruined my life. It ruined the lives of people that, I was supporting. And for me to move forward, this has to be exposed, because I know I'm not the only one. I can't have been. It was too good. It was too smooth. Ultimately this person went to university and failed out, and when I talked to the police about this, those two investigators, I said, this was a really smart person who went to university and failed out. And, they said, well, imagine someone like him being away from his security, having to deal with, what he was. So I feel that the only way that I can move forward in my life, the next half, without suffering more, is not to try to make someone else suffer, but just to be honest about what happened to me. I've only told a couple of people in my life about this. But now I have to do this so that I can have the next half of my life without this weight on me anymore. So I grew up with one of the major politicians in New Brunswick. For the Conservatives, his name is Glenn Savoy. He's been a member of the Legislative Assembly in New Brunswick for 20 years, I think. And I can't move forward because in my new opportunities, unless I can get this out. So he would regularly sexually assault me in his trailer in his backyard, and everybody knows about the trailer, but they did not know I was being sexually assaulted under there. And I think that obviously, he had told the neighbors, because then suddenly the neighbors started trying to assault me, none of which had, I actually fought back on that, but it destroyed my life. And I refuse to allow it to destroy my life one more day. I have children who I am estranged from as a result of who I was, as a result of what that made me, because I couldn't father them properly. And my relationships have all been really problematic. And I know it's all because of this. It's the only thing in my life that really messed me up. Because I'm a smart person. I've done some pretty incredible things. And I've also done some really shitty things. And I know from whence, those actions come. I've made some really terrible decisions in flight or fear of this particular PTSD, this particular, fear, these